Frankie Hourigan, and I'm the area director for Frederick FCA. I'm excited just to have you guys all here and be a part of this. I grew up in Frederick County, Maryland, and went to Urbana, graduated in 2006, and I ran cross country and track at Grove City College in Pennsylvania, and studied finance, actually, of all things, but realized I was more passionate about athletics and coaching. Got a graduate assistant position coaching, and worked at an outdoor sports store for a year and a half, and then started working for FCA. So I love you guys, all you coaches, and love athletes. So it's cool to hear. It's cool to work for FCA where I get to do that all the time. Thanks for joining this morning again. The basic agenda for this morning is that we're going to have a coach who is in a huddle, an FCA huddle, share some of the benefits he's seen from being in the huddle. And then we're going to have the man himself, Kendro, will join or will share and introduce our speaker. And our speaker is Andrew. He's a coach and a business owner, a father, and an author. So I'm excited to hear from him. If you have any questions during this time, feel free to chime in or put it in the chat. I might be putting some info in the chat along the way, but just wanted to welcome you to do that. And back in April and May, when we were really in a weird time and hadn't gotten quite used to it yet, I was talking with a colleague and asking, we were brainstorming, what can we do to serve coaches? How can we help in this weird time? It's just tough for coaches and athletes in general. So how can we help? So we thought of, okay, what are some practical things that we can give? And so we got another awesome coach from Frederick, Mike Franklin, to share, and we got a bunch of people together. And so I wanted to do that again, just to see, if we can continue to serve coaches and give you guys something practical, something helpful that might help influence your coaching style, and ultimately your athletes. So that's why we're here, and I'm excited to, just learn from myself, learn from Andrew and Scott and Kevin. So with that, I will just go ahead and turn it over to Scott. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself and take it away?
Sure. Thanks, Frankie. So my name's Scott Schartner. I'm the boys varsity soccer coach at Urbana High School. I know a lot of you guys that are and ladies that are on the phone right now or call right now. I'll start with some personal history about me. And then try to give you my experience with huddles and what they've kind of done for me as a coach, as an individual, as a dad, and everything. So let's see. I've actively been a part of a huddle, of a coach's huddle, since 2009. I've been coaching since 2004. So there's a little window of my coaching experience where I wasn't actively part of a huddle, and the difference between that first portion and the second portion of my coaching experience is dramatically different. So for me personally, I had a great model for what I thought a coach should be. I had some good coaches growing up, but my dad was the best coach that I ever personally had, and I was very blessed and fortunate to have him be my coach as a young athlete, and then to actually help me become a coach early in my coaching career. I always knew that I wanted to be a coach who coached more than just the field stuff. Immediately, but I just didn't know how. I wasn't purposeful with it at all, and those first 4 or 5 years were extremely frustrating for me because we kept having on the field issues, off the field issues. Just it felt like I was just kind of spinning my wheels all the time, not really helping the guys become better individuals on and off the field. And then a guy named Mark Stevens came up to me one afternoon. I remember it vividly, and after practice, and said, "Hey, I know your dad. He said that you were coaching. We're starting something new. We're going to start like meeting Friday mornings for coaches huddles, and we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about and learn how to coach the heart of the athlete." And that was the term, and that was the phrase that he used for me, and it just immediately struck a chord. And I don't think it was that Friday morning, but it was the following Friday morning. It was soon after. I went to my first coaches huddle, and I have. I don't know if I've missed very many Fridays in between then and now. And that's because of how impactful they have been for me as an individual, as a coach, as a father, as a teacher. For me, the coaches huddles helped give me perspective. And it was perspective that I didn't necessarily have before, perspective of the athletes. I started to view the athletes in a more three-dimensional way. Before, I was just viewing athletes essentially, I was training them. I was training them physically. And I would kind of talk a little bit about the second dimension of just, their mind, their psychological outlook on competition. But I never, ever really started talking about their heart, where their hearts were. And that's, my eyes were opened to how to do that through the huddle. And another perspective that being part of the coaches huddle really helped me realize was it helped me to start see my potential impact on not only the athletes in my program, but also their families, and also the potential impact on other athletes in other athletic programs within the school, and then the impact that we could potentially have on the community as a whole, and just opportunities not to be impactful, but more importantly to serve. And then finally, one of the really neat things for me personally was I met our character coach in my coaches huddle, and by being more purposeful in our in teaching character in our program, it helped us reach those athletes, and hopefully make them more rounded individuals, both on and off the field. So I know I jumped around a whole lot there, guys and girls. I hope that, and that was just my personal experience with it. I know that everyone is going to have their own unique needs and situations, and hopefully you guys are able to pull at least something from that mess that I just threw out at you, that you'll be able to take away, and hopefully you'll be a little bit more interested and want to check out joining a huddle yourself, because it really has been, if I could pinpoint one thing in my coaching career that really has been the most important aspect of it, it'd be being part of this the coaches huddle that I'm still a part of, and I go to every Friday morning.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. I'm glad it's been a benefit for you. I wanted to just kind of share something that I was thinking about briefly. And last fall, I ran a really long endurance event with 3 friends, and we ran a really long distance. We ran from Cumberland to Pittsburgh in 20 hours. We just ran straight. It was like a relay, and it was only possible together. And it reminded me of this saying that I've heard, and I don't think it's anyone in particular who said it. It's just kind of like one of those sayings, but it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I really believe that the impact that a coach can have is magnified and multiplied if they can continue to do it, if they do it over time. And I actually had an experience in high school where I played a sport for 4 years, and I had a different coach each year. And then I played another sport, and I had the same coach all 4 years. And which coach do you think had the bigger impact on me as an athlete? So I think just to highlight one of the things that Scott said, it's powerful to have other coaches going alongside with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. So Kevin, the floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Kendro. I serve as the supervisor of athletics and extracurricular activities for Frederick County Public Schools. I won't really go into I'll do a brief history. I'm a graduate of Governor Thomas Johnson High School, 1997. Went to Shepherd College, which is now Shepherd University, majored in health and physical education, and played baseball there for 4 years. And then I was fortunate to become the baseball coach at Urbana. I learned a lot and made a million mistakes as a 21-year-old baseball coach. But then I became the athletic director again at an earlier age and learned a lot, but got to work with tremendous coaches. I was athletic director for 8.5 years. And now, again, I serve as our supervisor of athletics. And, we're very fortunate to have, one, character coaches in our county. And just to listen to Coach Schartner speak, I was fortunate. He coaches for us now. When I was at Urbana, he was our soccer coach, and it's the best of the best right there. And like he said, the character part sometimes is what's missing in sports nowadays. You turn on professional sports, college sports. Sometimes I actually turn it off because I don't like what I see. And so we need more, character-based instruction to supplement interscholastic high school athletics, which some people don't know. We try to advertise, but the goal of high school athletics is not to win. It's not to get a college scholarship. It's to teach life lessons through sport. And what better way to do that than to focus on the character side? So thanks, Coach Schartner, for all you do. So I'm going to introduce real quickly, and I'm going to be very brief because I want to listen to him speak. Introduce Andrew Simpson, who's the founder of Players Fitness and Performance. If I had to describe Andrew, I would describe him as, one, a good person, someone that's made me a better leader, and also a better husband and father. I've actually gone to his business, and I've actually worked out with them. I see what they do, but I've seen the interaction with him and his employees with the students and the players that they serve. So they're not only teaching the physical and the strength and the conditioning part, but they're also teaching character. They're also teaching leadership. They're also teaching the mental part of the game. And so that just stuck out to me. People have fun there, right? Why do we play sports? Because because it's fun, right? And that's what they do there. Again, I have a copy of his book, The Youth Truth, and it's, we do need to change some things of what we do. I need, parents, coaches, we need to look at things a little bit different. So again, it is my pleasure. I don't want to ramble on too much longer to introduce Andrew, and I'm very excited to hear him speak this morning. I thank everyone for being here with us.
Kevin, thanks, brother. And Scott, after just hearing you talk, I don't know if we've ever met in person, but I'm even more pumped up for this morning because to have 18 impact-driven coaches at 7 a.m. on a Friday who want to come together to make a bigger difference and find out how they can make a bigger impact. Scott, after hearing you talk, I'm even more excited, guys. This morning, I want to get right into what I have to share with you today because it's a little bit different than anything that I've shared in the past. In the past, I typically talk about how to develop the winning athlete or how to develop a more confident, successful student athlete. And today's talk, it was kind of put on my heart to shift more towards something else that I've come to be very passionate about. And I'm going to share the screen with you because this gets into the presentation itself. I'm calling this talk the Dynasty Advantage, the 3 critical advantages dynasties leverage that are available to all of us. And I've got 3 pretty powerful concepts to share with you, all that come from different books that I've read that I've applied directly to our organization and it's impacted our team, our employees. But I feel like there's a direct parallel to coaches with their players or coaches with their coaching staff. And it solves the problem that a lot of coaches face, even the most impact-driven, purpose-driven coaches that I know, which is how do I myself stay constantly inspired and motivated, because we know that an inspired coach leads to an inspired team of players. And if the coach isn't inspired, then the team's certainly not going to be inspired. And all of this talk today is built on the belief and the notion that the coach is the centerpiece of any dynasty. And when I say dynasty, I don't just mean a team that wins 12 Super Bowls. I mean a team that, yes, they win, but they maintain and sustain health, relationships, and high performance along the way. This morning, it's not going to be a presentation, because presentations, I believe, are informational and motivational in nature. I wanted this morning, and I know it's early, 7 o'clock, to do a little bit of writing, but this morning it's going to be more workshop style. It's going to be a quick hitter, and my goal is to make it practical and useful, because that we know will lead to more inspiration and transformation for both you and your team and your players. And that's why I think that I'm here this morning. So getting into just a quick story of myself, because it leads directly into the presentation. 2009 is when I started coaching student athletes. And I know some of you have been doing it far longer than me, which is why I can't wait to connect with you guys after this to learn from you. And some of you guys maybe have not been doing it quite as long. But developing the winning athlete has been my main focus for the last 11 years. Everything from the mental game, as Kevin said, to helping an athlete achieve their highest potential physically. I wrote a book about it that came out earlier this year. And so that's been a primary focus for myself and the organization, PFP. Now, 2015, a year after PFP was founded, up until currently, the shift has been, how do we create a high-performing, healthy, winning team year after year? And those men and women that you see on the screen, minus a couple more now, that is a team filled with the most impact-driven, incredible men and women who come alongside of me every single day to make the dent in the world and make the change in the youth sports industry that we're ultimately trying to make. And so that's really what this talk's going to be about. Every dynasty, if you think about it, every dynasty has 3 distinct advantages that differentiate them. And these are 3, again, there are 3 concepts that I had never heard these prior to learning from different mentors and different books that I grabbed these concepts from. But every dynasty has 3 advantages. Number 1, they're deeply motivated by what we're going to call an insurgent mission. Deeply motivated by an insurgent mission. Number 2, they're passionately connected to their just cause. Not just because, to their just cause, the cause that they're fighting for. They're passionately connected to that. And then number 3, they're laser focused on their QBR. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to explain what that acronym stands for and what it means. But every dynasty has these 3 advantages that are available to all of us. And I'm grateful that I came across these different resources that I've been able to merge together that's helped our team to stay constantly motivated and hopefully be creating what we think is a dynasty. And how do they arrive at these 3 differentiators? How will you arrive at your 3 differentiators? Number 1, in order to get to that insurgent mission, dynasties answer one question: who or what are we fighting against? By itself, this isn't enough, because you can't just be always fighting against something. And I'm not talking about showing up on the field, the team that you're playing against. This is more the bigger thing that you as a coach or you as an organization are battling against, because all of us as coaches, we're battling against something. But it's important to define what that something is so that you can create a game plan against it. Number two, how do they arrive at their just cause? They answer the question, who or what are we fighting for? Who or what are we fighting for? Because all of us are fighting for something. And then number three, they clearly define their QBR by knowing and executing on the activities that matter most to the mission and the cause. Because I think I know coaches well enough at this point that there are 1,000,001 things that we just have to do, or at least we think we have to do them in order to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And for most of us, I found this within our own organization, about 80% of those things, we might not need to do them, or we might not need to do them as much because they're keeping us from doing the one thing that I hope I help you guys to discover, that one thing tonight or today, this morning, that matters most to the success of their team. So getting into the first one right off the bat, advantage number one that dynasties have is that they're deeply motivated by this insurgent mission. They know what they're fighting against. For us at PFP, to give you an example that might be helpful as you get ready to create a rough draft of what yours might be, at PFP, we sat down 2 years ago as a team. 2 years ago, after reading a book called The Founder's Mentality, and we asked ourselves, what are we fighting against? What is the thing that gets us up in the morning that we are going to battle against? For us, there are two main industries and things that we're fighting against. Number one, modern society. This is one that just keeps on coming, and it's never going to stop. We go to battle against this every day. It's a false message that's being sent to our youth that promotes, knowingly or unknowingly, a self-seeking, it's all about me kind of mindset. This is mainly through social media. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I just want to share with you what ours is. We're battling against these influencers of the world, certain sports figures, the popular and powerful people out there that are ultimately just warping the minds of our youth and leading them down paths that lead to, you guys know this, highest levels of anxiety ever among kids, highest levels of perfectionism and depression and suicide, all of which are things that are on different ends of the spectrum in terms of how big they are, but ultimately it's hurting our student athletes rather than helping them. So at PFP, and maybe this is one of yours, maybe you come to the conclusion that part of your insurgent mission is that you're battling against modern society as well. And the second one, for us, it's interesting, seeing as how we're part of the sports industry in a lot of ways, but we're battling against the sports industry. We're battling against overzealous parents and coaches who might not say this, but through their actions, it's very apparent that they value sports accomplishments more than the long-term health, purpose, and joy of their student athletes. At PFP, we are battling against that coach that last year, going to my 9-year-old nephew's basketball game, I watched a coach scream at these 9-year-olds for not executing the play properly, scream at them in a huddle. And I thought to myself, number one, they're 9. What kind of 9-year-old knows how to execute this complicated play? But number two, isn't it always the coach's fault if your team doesn't execute? That's my belief. So we're battling against this sports industry that's ultimately providing a disservice to our youth, and that's what we wake up every morning and say, you know what, this is our insurgent mission. So for you, you're going to have to think through these why it's undeniably critical to have the insurgent mission. Number one, you're a competitor. You're a competitor yourself. We all know we're competitors, even if we don't play sports anymore. You're a competitor, and you're created to battle against forces of darkness or evil, and you can, make that what you want, whether darkness is really dark and evil is really evil, or it's just things that really tick you off as a coach and make you upset when you see them going on in the world. Number two, we all do better when there's competition. This is why we have to have an insurgent mission. Alone, the insurgent mission is not enough, but it is important because we all do better when there's competition. And then number three, at the end of the day, we're already fighting an enemy. I mentioned this before. You just got to define it, because when you define who your enemy is, when you study the game film, you can create the consistent game plan. So 90 seconds, coaches. I'm going to give you 90 seconds. If you've got a pen and paper nearby, this should not be perfect. It should just be like, after I shared ours, you know, what are the things that just really enrage you, or upset you? And it's like, this is what I'm fighting against every single day. It might be similar to what I shared, or it might be your own. So 90 seconds, I'm going to set the timer on my phone. Go ahead and jot down some of your own pieces to your insurgent mission. What are you battling against? We'll go about 30 more seconds. All right, so we're going to dive back in. I highly recommend spending a little bit more time on that, and then, of course, sharing it so that you're not the only one that's got this fuel inside of you, but you can share it and communicate it with vision and passion and purpose to the rest of your coaching staff and possibly your team. Second thing, advantage number two, dynasty teams are passionately connected to their just cause. As I mentioned before, they answer the question, what are we fighting for? At PFP, we are fighting for the smiles on kids' faces, the passion on kids' faces who used to love the game and now they're drained because of parents and coaches. We're fighting for the girl that walks into PFP and has track marks on her arm because she's been cutting herself because she feels so much pressure from her swim coaches and from her parents to get to the Division I level. This is who we're fighting for, and we define it in a different way. A just cause, it's got 5 parts to the criteria that might be helpful as you try to articulate what your just cause is. Number 1, it's got to be for something. So different from the insurgent mission, completely opposite, the just cause must be for something. Number 2, it's got to be inclusive. So when we created our just cause, we knew that our entire team, all of our 16 teammates, they had to feel a part of it. They had to feel included in it, like they had some emotional investment into it. Number 3, it's got to be service oriented. It has to be for the greater good of society or of the sports industry or of wherever it is that you are creating your just cause for. Number 4, it's got to be resilient. It can't be something that 12 months from now you achieve it and then you have to come up with a new one. A just cause by nature, and this can be frustrating for some or inspiring, never-ending inspiration. A just cause, it's got to be something that you'll never live to see come to fruition, but you'll die fighting for it. And ultimately, that's because it's got to be idealistic. When you create your just cause, inevitably you'll have people who say to you, that's not realistic. To which you reply, correct. Realistic is not going to help the sports industry or my industry become better. And in order to leave it better than I found it, I've got to be able to create something so idealistic that it inspires people, it inspires our coaches, it inspires the people around us. At PFP, we define our just cause with the student athletes we coach as this. We imagine a world where every student athlete has an impact-driven, love-powered leader in their life that cares for them deeply, makes time for them, inspires them, and challenges them to be their best on and off the field. We know that at least 50% of kids out there will never have a mentor in their life. And of those 50, many, many more will not have an impact-driven, love-powered leader, which is important. We also imagine a sports industry where parents are supportive but not overbearing, a world where during tournaments and games across the globe, you can hear the sweet sounds of cheering and clapping from the stands and nothing more. We imagine a world where coaches prioritize the mental, emotional, and physical health of their athletes above wins and losses, but of course, not in lieu of those things. And then finally, where the rubber meets the road for us, we imagine a world where there's a consistent and predictable method being implemented by leaders everywhere that transforms young men and women into the fully confident, resilient, successful servant leaders they were created to be. That's idealistic. That's something I'm confident I will not see in my lifetime, but I'm willing to give it my all every day, just like I know you guys on this call are willing to give it everything you got to see some of those things maybe come to fruition as well. But that's ours. That's PFP's. What's your just cause? Who or what are you fighting for? You can frame this up as we imagine a world where, or you can simply just start writing down the names, the actual names of the kids that you've served in the past, that you've coached in the past, the ones that you've had the biggest impact on, the ones whose stories you hear and it continues to just bring something up inside of you that makes you want to get out of bed every day and do what you do. This is who you're fighting for. So let's take 90 more seconds on the clock and write that out. "45 more seconds. I know it's early, but dial into that pen and paper because these are historical documents that'll fuel you as a coach, fuel your organization for many, many years. Ten more seconds. Okay, so now we've got an insurgent mission, at least a rough draft. We've got a just cause. We've got two things that just by themselves, the more you stay connected to them, this could change everything within your organization. It could lift the energy, the inspiration of the team. But this third thing, just came across this within the last 3 months, actually, and introduced the concept to our team called the QBR. And it's been an absolute game changer. We sat down as an entire team and we talked through some of the things that I'm going to take you through right now. And I can tell you this, stress has been decreased, joy has been increased. stress has been increased and joy has been increased doing what we do every day. QBR answers the question, what is the single activity that we would hinge the entire fulfillment of the insurgent mission and just cause on? Put in other words, what do we do day in and day out that's the most critical to the success of our team, our organization, and our players? A QBR stands for the queen bee's role. The queen bee's role. It comes from the book Clockwork. And the queen bee in a beehive. The queen bee plays a vital role in the hive because she's the only female with fully developed ovaries. The queen's two primary purposes, the QBR, the queen's two primary purposes are to produce chemical scents that help regulate the unity of the colony and to lay lots of eggs. All of the worker bees, and this is the most important thing, all of the worker bees support the queen bee's role as it is the most vital role to the mission. Everybody on the team, everybody in the hive knows that whoever is operating in the QBR, whether it's the queen bee or another bee, in this case, it is always the queen bee, but whoever's operating in the QBR is ultimately doing the most important thing for the organization. So how does this apply to you and your team? Well, for us, to give you our example, we identified that there's a lot of stuff that our coaches have to do. And we had never taken the time to sit down and sift through the stuff. It's just easier to say, I've got so much stuff to do. I've got the emails, I've got the program design, I've got the scheduling, I've got the cleaning, I've got the content creation, I've got the coaching sessions, I've got delivering the motivational messages, I've got following up with guests, connecting with parents and athletes, I've got, I got to go to games. Like, it's easier just to say the stuff we have to do instead of pausing and asking, what can I either, and this is where I'll get into the most important part, what can I either, now I'll wait until the next slide to get to this, but instead of pausing and asking, what can I do differently, more or less? Like, how can I operate more in the passion zone and less in the frustration zone, doing all the X's and O's that I maybe don't like to do as much? For us, we identified our QBR, and I'm not going to share it quite yet because this right here on this screen, it shares what our QBR actually is. Bottom left, we take time, a good bit of time each week, to create an athlete spotlight that we put out on social media and email. And our spotlight, just for us, it reflects our values. So it's not just the kid that had the most goals in the last game. Sometimes that's what happens, but it's typically the athlete that embodied our values and what we believe matters most as a young student athlete leader. Top right, every time a student athlete walks into our doors at PFP, a brand new student athlete, we've got their name written up on the board. We meet them at the front, welcoming them by first name, making them feel special. And then I'll share, if this video works, this is just another form of what we do to accomplish our QBR. Hello, Megan Wilson. You were on my mind. In fact, we were actually talking about you with the PFP team. You were on our minds, and I just wanted to reach out to you and see how you were doing. You got after it this summer, actually spring and summer, because you did the virtuals too. And I appreciate your hard work always. Miss you tons, but I know you're killing it over there at Presbyterian. So shoot me an update when you get a chance. Let me know how life is going. And if there's any way that I can help you at all, please ask. I'll talk to you soon, my friend. Peace. So it's a very simple thing that we do at PFP, but it all goes back to our QBR, which is making our student athletes feel loved, cared for, and special. So anything that we do as coaches that accomplishes that outcome is our QBR, because we know, just for us, if we are accomplishing that, we know that they're coming back, that they're going to be happy, and most importantly, when those two things happen, they're going to give us their absolute best on the training floor. So we make them feel loved, cared for, and special first, and then they come in and they do what we really want them to do, which is train intensely increase their performance so that their coaches are happy, their parents are happy, and ultimately so that they're happy. So for you, what is your QBR? This might be the one, as you start to write, this might be the one that is the toughest to figure out, because you might have to list out all of the stuff that you just got to do as a coach, and all the stuff that you love to do as a coach. And you're going to have to kind of pick and like, oh, you know what, like coaching the sessions is really important, but making the athletes feel special is ultimately the most important thing. You'll have to kind of figure out for you, what's the QBR, what's the one thing for you personally as a coach that you do that's most important to the success of the mission. And if you'd like to go a different route, you could say, as a coaching staff, what do we do that's most important? Or as a team, what do we spend our time on as a team that's most important? Is it game film? Are we spending too much time? Are we spending too much time on meaningless or unimportant tasks? What is the QBR? Take 90 seconds and just start to write down some ideas that'll get you closer to your QBR. Ready, set, go. We'll go 10 more seconds on this last writing exercise, and then we'll finish strong. Okay. 3 solutions for more QBR time. 3 solutions that are going to help you as a coach, that have helped me in my role at PFP, helped me to be able to spend more time doing the most important thing and less time on the things that ultimately aren't as important. Number 1, automate. Automate, probably a word that isn't talked about much in coaching presentations, but automate anything you'll need to do more than one time that's keeping you from more QBR time. An example is every year when you do your welcome to the team, whether it's you send it to parents, you send emails to athletes, you probably have spent considerable amount of time creating emails and bullet points and things to send to the team. If you have actually taken the time to create templates that, okay, I sent this email last year, it really worked well, I'm just going to copy it, change the dates, paste it, little things like that over the course of a week add up to lots of time that allow you to send more videos to your athletes, or create more recognition and celebration for them, the things that ultimately fill you up and fill them up. So email templates, that's just the one of many examples of automation. Training videos. Maybe you're a football coach and every year you or your coaching staff finds yourself having to spend way too much time on, I don't know, I'm just making something up, putting pads in their pants correctly, or buckling their chin strap, or, anything that's like, okay, this is just frustrating. Every year I got to do this and it drains me. And it might not be, buckling a chin strap. It might be anything else that you could train, but you could either create a YouTube video, film whatever you're doing, have one of your coaches film it. And then next year, it's just less of the blah stuff that drags you down. And maybe the email template doesn't apply to you. Maybe the training video doesn't apply to you. But everybody, this is undeniable. All of us in our positions as the head of the team, all of us have things that we could automate so that it doesn't frustrate us anymore. And the second thing is eliminate. Taking time, and hopefully this morning is a good time to do this, taking time to eliminate anything that's not important. Maybe it's not working. It's not important. It's not necessary. It's not urgent. I took a long pause once I came to this one and really asked myself, what am I doing throughout a week that is just not, it's not needed. It used to be important. Maybe 2 years ago, it mattered and people appreciated it. Maybe it's an email that I would send. Maybe it was weekly updates that I would send, but now it's not that important anymore. So what can I eliminate from my list throughout the week that's not important, not necessary, and not urgent? That's a question that you'll want to answer to hopefully free you up a little bit more. An example could be if your personal QBR, you found when you celebrate, you recognize, you reward your players to build them up. That's the thing that really boosts the team spirits the most and accomplishes the mission. You might need to eliminate something like pre-practice chalk talk. And instead of doing that, you circle them up, and daily or weekly, you do shout outs, recognizing players who exemplified behaviors that you want repeated from the day or the week prior. So that's just one example. The third thing that you can do to get more QBR time is, of course, delegate. Anything that someone else can do 80% as well as you is what John Maxwell taught me. It's something I should delegate. And some of you guys do this really well. You have parents. You've got parents on your team that just, I mean, they want to be the coach sometimes. And you know what? To help fill the bucket for them, help fill their bucket, you can just say, hey, here, you can do all the emailing of the team. You can do all the scheduling of practices. Some of you guys are in the place right now where it's like, I'm doing everything and I need to delegate more. And if you're like me, you could probably revisit this every month, every 2 months, because as soon as you delegate something, isn't it odd how you delegate something and then if you're a busy person or a person that just likes to get stuff done like I am, you somehow find more stuff to do. You delegate and then it's like, oh, I'm going to do more. And then you get frustrated and you get overwhelmed again. It's like, oh, I got to delegate more. So this is one, it's good to revisit this frequently. An example would be if your QBR, maybe your personal QBR is you're the motivator. You're the kind of coach that when you're on the field at practice and you're inspiring, you're encouraging, you're motivating your players, that's when your team is at its best. You actually might have to delegate something important, big, like designing practice plans and even the X's and O's side of things. I know a coach in Frederick County who his ego is, I mean, he's taken his ego out of the equation and he's like, you know what? It's not easy for me to do this, but I'm not very good at designing practice plans and the skills and drills we're going to do that day. I'm the head coach, but I'm just going to focus on connecting with the players during practice. And that I admire big time. And I admire it so much that when I heard that, I recognized my QBR. It's making athletes feel loved and special through my coaching and connecting with them on the floor. And in my position, I also was having to do a lot of other stuff that was important to the organization. So what I did was I delegated something I was decent at that was really difficult for me to let go of, which was leading and overseeing all operations of the business. And luckily for me, I had an incredible partner, an incredible guy that was able to do this and that is currently doing this for our organization. But it took me pausing for a couple minutes, a couple hours and asking myself, what should I delegate so that I can be in my QBR more? Because the success of my players, the success of the athletes, the fulfillment of the mission, it's just more important than what I like or what I want to do or what fills me up. And a lot of the times you end up getting both. So that's the solutions for QBR time. Closing questions for all of us. Number one, do I have an insurgent team right now or an incumbent team? And the difference is this. An incumbent team is full of players who dutifully show up. It's a responsibility, an obligation, it's a necessity, where the insurgent team, and I know many of you guys have this or are working towards this, it's full of players who voluntarily give their discretionary energy with zeal and devotion to the mission at hand. And if it's incumbent, what do I need to do in order to get my coaches and players involved and fully behind and backing the new insurgent mission that we're going to create together? Question number two, am I emotionally invested in a just cause? Are we working towards something bigger than wins and losses? If so, do I need to communicate it better, more consistently, with confidence, with emotion, with conviction? Because we know emotion breeds motion with our coaching staff as well as our players. And then the third question, we just went through this, but am I operating in my QBR at least 60% of the time? That is the gold standard. That is the mark that the author of the book Clockwork recommended, and I found it's spot on. And have I unknowingly been choosing to bog myself down with work that's outside of my QBR? What do I need to automate, eliminate, or delegate in order to stay in that? They do not merely get lucky, and they are not, despite what we may believe sometimes, they're not naturally motivated. They just take time to develop and stay dialed in on their insurgent mission, their just cause, and their QBR, which ultimately, for all of us, we know leads to that never-ending source of motivation, drive, and passion. And if I were to go one layer deeper, the reason we do that is because all of us want to change the game. We want to change the world, and we do it one student athlete at a time. So coaches, I appreciate you all being on here. I know that we're going to probably stay on for a couple minutes, and Frankie's going to take the floor back, but I appreciate you guys big time and what you do. And if you all want to connect with me, there's some different places to do that. I would love to grab coffee with any one of you, grab lunch with any one of you. And at the bottom there, I wanted to gift you guys a free copy of the book, The Youth Truth. So if you go to that website, you can get the book for free there. Thanks a ton, guys. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you, man. That's great. Good stuff. Took lots of notes. And I'm just grateful for everyone being able to join. I don't really have a ton else to say other than if you're interested in being a part of an FCA huddle, feel free to reach out to me. That'd be great. I'd love to get you connected to an FCA huddle. I will just end with a thanks again for joining. I think that's everything. If anyone has questions, feel free to stick around and ask questions, but that's everything. Thanks a lot.
Great job, Andrew, as usual.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, Jim. How's it going, man?
Good to see you, Frankie.
Thank you. Hey, would you mind putting that last slide up real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.